My worst ever sales experience. In the early days, there was loads, as I'm sure anybody listening to this that's been responsible for bringing sales in might know about. You learn from your mistakes, right? So very, very long time ago when I first became an entrepreneur, I started a little family business with my dad and my brother. They were actually already running it. I'd only been there for a few days and I'd never sold a tile or a bathroom in my life. I was really nervous. I was standing behind a counter and I've just got a showroom and a shop full of brochures and like live displays and just like loads and loads and loads of information. So in the old days, it was like, read a brochure, work it out for yourself. Anyway, the one day I was standing behind the counter and in walked a client, and I'll never forget this man the rest of my life because he actually taught me a great lesson about making sure that you're organised, and I wasn't. And this guy took me to pieces over a period of a few weeks. To be honest, it was really not a nice experience. And it was the best experience I ever had. As he walked through the door, he sort of looked to dominate me, so it just didn't feel good right from the beginning, and I was obviously giving off a lot of, hey, I'm new, treat me like a little rag doll signals. And I had no structure, I didn't really have any skills at the time, to be honest. Unfortunately, this guy walked through the door, so as I say, it was tough learning, but it's a great learning. And what he did is, it very quickly dominated the situation. So he was like, look, here's what I want, this is what it is. I want you to give me a price, I want you to do this, I want you to do the best price ever, then I want you to come out and measure it up. And if you come out and measure it up, I'll definitely give you the work. So that was the beginning of lots of promises, and I made the great mistake of being a people pleaser. And the more I said yes, the worse it got for me and the better it got for him. Long story short, over a period of a few weeks, he'd only deal with me if my dad or my brother were involved and they sort of tried to help me out a little bit. It's like, no, me and Matthew were doing this, and eventually I agreed to everything, and I had to deliver the tiles, even though we didn't normally do that. Like, the whole deal was in his favour, and he didn't pay me when he said he would. There was a lot of trust, but it didn't feel like there's an absence of trust from me, but he kept putting emphasis on trust. So I created all this myself. All of these problems were my problems. Here's the reason why. I had no process. I had no structure to the sale. I didn't follow up properly. I didn't take details in the moment. I felt under pressure, and he seemed to revel in negotiating with me, getting one over me, and it became really emotional for me. It really did, and I was really quite upset about the whole thing. And in the end, we delivered everything, and guess what? He didn't pay because he didn't happen to be there, but he'd ring me later. Then he was going to ring me next week and the week after. And a few weeks after delivering everything, I still hadn't been paid, and then the problem started. He wanted a refund, he wanted to send certain tiles back. Matthew said this, Matthew said that. If I'd have known that, I'd have never gone with that, but Matthew's a lovely lad, and all the rest of it. Made it all about me, and in the end, I think we ended up giving him like quite a bit of money back, and honestly, it was a nightmare. So, what did I learn? Well, I learned that the first thing that you've got to do is to get yourself organised in sales. The second thing you've got to do is actually like have a repeatable process, and what I mean by that is like make notes of, if you're watching this and you haven't got a process yet, like make notes of the things that you do that are good, and then start to repeat them and actually follow some step-by-step things that you can do when somebody's looking to buy from you. So the other thing is, I didn't have anything in writing, it was all verbal. And now I know that that was part of his tactic. I remember saying, I'll just jot that down. No, don't worry, it's just between me and you. We trust each other. So it felt like an old car salesman's approach from him. And from my point of view, I ended up making lots and lots of mistakes. It was costly, it was emotionally painful, it was frustrating. Here's the great news, and this really is the best bit. After that experience, I pointed the finger at me eventually. At first I was like blaming him and blaming everybody else. Eventually I realised I was, as he walked into that showroom in his world, I was the salesperson in that negotiation. And it was on me to get myself organised, to get myself focused enough, to get myself some structure, and also to have some skills, some questions, to know some information. So it really created a great opportunity for me to start the process of getting much better at sales. And that really taught me that if you want to sell something to somebody, then you've got to make sure you've got some structure. You've got to make sure you have a process. But here's the other thing, this is the big lesson that I learned. You've also got to be prepared to say, do you know what, this isn't making sense for me, so I think I'm going to leave it, thanks. Remember, great sales is meant to be good for the client, yes, it's meant to be good for you too. And then when both parties are happy, the universe wins too, and you get what we call a 3-win philosophy.